What's up, guys? There's another micro patch. We're going to go ahead and go through this, figure out all the stuff that changed, and give a brief rundown of my thoughts on it. So, let's start right off with Hunter in-cap health increased to 3,500 instead of 3,000. So what this is going to do is make it harder for the monster to kill them and also harder for the medic to get them up. I believe this was changed because of the Lazarus Corpse timer being changed, so they're able to stay um, in-capped a little bit longer, but when they're actually dead, it's going to take less time for their body to not be able to be revived by Lazarus device. Wildlife limb damage increased to 100, so I guess this is when you're attacking something like a tyrant or a sloth, it's going to take more damage when it gets hit in the arms and legs, as opposed to the body. I didn't even actually know that that was a thing. All right. And then Lazarus Corpse, obviously I was talking about this already. When someone's dead, it takes 30 seconds instead of 45. So I need to remember this number because I hate Lazarus. Hunter Corpse's decay time starts at 15 seconds instead of 30. Doesn't really change the game all that much. Mobile Arena cooldown increased to 70 seconds. It was 60. This is because of the dome being changed, so when it drops instantly, people were getting domed back to back to back before they could even get full armor. It's not going to change the majority of games, I would say. Instead, unless you're at the very top level, you're probably not even going to notice this. There's another change a little bit lower that I'll note where reload speed doesn't affect Mobile Arena anymore, and that was again the same reason to stop the doming back to back to back every 70, or it used to be 60 seconds. Hide toxic grenades will auto switch away after being thrown. I have played around with this a little bit on this patch. It's nice, but I still hit the key because it's like muscle memory now. So for people who play hide, I don't think it's really going to be that big of a deal. It's just one button press. Parnell Super Soldier self-damage reduced, so they're trying to buff up Parnell because I think no one plays him, and he's, in my opinion, not very good. I think he needs a little bit more than just his self-damage being reduced, though. Reduced crazy screen shake caused by Torvald's mortars. I never really noticed it, but that's okay. This is a big one. Griffin. So Griffin's sound spikes can pinpoint a monster stage up on any location of the map, does not have to be in the sound spike radius. During online matches against other players. Doesn't work against AI. So when the monster's staging up, regardless, your entire team sees where the monster's staging up. So this is really huge if you can't find the monster before stage 1, if he's sneaking. You'll always know where he's evolving, so unless you're super far on the other side of the map, you're probably going to be able to get a dome after he evolves up. So that's a pretty big change, because holding dome griffins are going to be a lot stronger than they used to be, where you can just kind of get near the monster and chain harpoon him to just annoy him, and then once he evolves, you always get that dome no matter what. Jack got a little bit of tweaking, so his dual pistol damage got reduced by 4, so it's down to 36 now. His repulsor, the delay before the recharge when he's fully out of ammo, has been reduced to 1 second. It was 3, so that's a buff. His total ammo was reduced by 200, so that's a little bit of a nerf, but probably not the biggest deal ever. I was running capacity on him for a little while, just testing it out. I don't think it's really necessary. I did notice that the little bit that I've played Jack, abduction will take it to 0, but you won't get abducted, even if it's at like point blank. Probably not point blank because the hitbox, but if you're just a little bit far away, you can use that to stop yourself from getting abducted. And then you're obviously going to regen your ammo really, really quickly, even if you use all of it, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. This is a pretty big one, though. The max angle increased to 90 instead of 45, so you can pretty much get it to the very side of the monster. They're trying to make it a little bit more useful when you're not able to like stop Kraken from moving and stuff like that, or stop a Goliath from trying to get on your teammate. You don't have to really get in front of them anymore. You can kind of move that angle to the opposite side of the monster. The red ammo usage, so basically when you're not actually stopping the monster, apparently there was 7 ammo per tick that your like energy would get reduced if you weren't actually stopping them for whatever reason. That's reduced by 3. I don't think many people are going to notice that, but there were some Veil buffs. So Veil self-heal was increased by 100 up to 550. The cooldown was decreased on the heal burst to 12. So I mean, this is big, these are big healing changes. The recharge time on the med gun was reduced to 5.5 seconds, and increased standing heal to 110. I'm not sure exactly what that means. When Veil is standing, does she heal more than when she's moving? I don't really understand that, but either way, these are buffs to Veil. Veil, it was like slightly below Kyra still, and she was already competitive. She could still compete with the other medics, so I think she's probably a lot better now, and I would say that she might even be better than Kyra at this point. Lazarus device cooldown was increased 3 seconds to 15. This is only really going to be a big deal when you down multiple people at a time and they're near enough to each other where Lazarus can't get to one of them, and you can guard both of them at a time. And then, like, say you have to run away when their body's about to, the corpse timer is at like 14 seconds, and he can res one but not the other, or something like that. His heal burst was actually cooldown was reduced further down to 12 seconds. So I mean, this is going to make Lazarus even stronger. But because he can't revive people as much, like, you have to guard a body for 30 seconds. That's a pretty long period of time, but not so long, because you can see that like Mobile Arena is 70, or actually, how long does Mobile Arena last? I think it's a minute, so 60 seconds. You're going to basically have to down someone in the first 30 seconds and kill them outright, and then you can guard them for the last 30 seconds of the Mobile Arena and still probably not take significant damage, especially if it's like Assault that you down or something. His orbital barrage on Hank was reduced to 3.5 seconds, was 5.5. So this is the actual duration that the things are coming down from the sky. Somebody who plays Hank a lot was talking to me about it, and he said it's a pretty big change that he noticed it a lot. I don't play as much Hank anymore. I used to, but I never really thought his orbital barrage was really like a pinpoint thing. It's obviously what he's known for, but shield is definitely more core to your team. You don't really need that damage. You can win games without hitting orbitals. And actually, when I was playing Hank a lot, I was using it to clear big buffs like Sloth and Tyrant, just to not slow down my team and not force them to like have to stand there and shoot it for a few seconds. Bucket sentry guns no longer stackable. Apparently you could stack them. That would be pretty annoying. I haven't actually noticed that. Mini nuke grenade launcher on Sunny was reduced to 175 damage instead of 190, slight nerf. And then this is where the Hunter reload perk happens. So they buffed the actual reload perk itself, but they made it so that it can't affect class abilities. So no longer affects personal shield, Mobile Arena, cloak, and heal burst. But I think it will affect cloak on Lazarus, so that's only the cloak on supports. Pretty sure. So now we get into the monsters. So monsters, Goliath got a bit of a buff. So his damaging level 3 stats were buffed by 40%. I believe this is when he stages up to level 3 only. He gets like more health and armor, I think is what that means. And maybe like, I don't know if it would mean his stamina as well, coming back quicker. I don't even know if that's a thing that gets buffed, but basically his non-damage dealing abilities, or stats. His Flame Breath now, instead of, I believe, I was kind of reading through this before, and I believe what this means is that the Flame Breath damage per second, the like tick that you get when you actually have the debuff on you of being burnt, is increased, more damage, but the, actually I'm not sure. I think it's just buff damage but lower duration, which is actually bad for my Goliath because I have a little bit of trouble tracking people, especially when they're not on fire. And you're only burnt for 3 seconds instead of 6, and the duration that you actually are able to, the flame breath duration, I believe, is reduced to 1 second instead of 1.75. I don't think this is as big of a deal. You get more damage. It's basically more bursty, is what you're going to see. So I'm not sure if that's good for the game or not, because Goliath is already kind of a bursty monster where you can just use Rock Throw to down someone. So, and you can actually probably get someone to a point where you can just burst them down with Flame Breath. I don't know, I'll have to play around with it a little bit before I have a solid opinion of that. The radius on Leap Smash is increased, just a little bit at level 1, but quite a bit at level 3, 1 whole meter, which is a pretty big deal. So I use a lot of Leap Smash. I might even use it more now. Meteor Goliath, I guess I'll go over this. Leap and Leap Smash distance and speed and distance. Leap, takeoff speed reduced to 25 meters per second was 26. This is not going to be noticeable, and neither is this, I don't think. I'm not sure if this puts it in line with Goliath or if this is a nerf. They're like making it a separate monster, and it's kind of hard to keep track of the two because they have the same abilities. Let's see. Okay, so this is just Leap. Okay, so Leap, the takeoff speed was reduced to 25, so you're going to be moving slightly slower, but the percentage on this is, it's nothing. It's like less than 1%, or not less than 1%. I don't want to do math in a video. Gravity decreased to 23, so that's going to make you fly longer, I guess, but you're going to move slower. So you'll be in the air longer, but you'll move slower in the air. You're not going to notice this, I don't think. The Leap Smash gravity increase, so you're going to fall a little bit quicker. This is actually kind of a buff, I would say. But if it's a lot different from regular Goliaths, then it's going to feel really weird to use, and I hope they don't do that. The radius was increased just like the other Goliath was, and the cooldown time outside of combat was increased, so you can't use it as a traversal as much. Traversal recharge time outside of combat increased to 33 seconds, was 30, just makes it so you can't move around outside of combat as much, can't get as much distance. I'm almost wondering if they implemented an old version of Goliath into the game, and these are just putting it in line with the regular Goliath, because a lot of this stuff happened like a couple patches ago. Level 1 cooldown outside of combat, same basic thing, they're making it charge less of a traversal ability. The duration decreased. Level 2 duration. Yeah, this is all changes that were made to Goliath a while ago. I think they're just putting Meteor Goliath in line with the other ones. So these are a few more interesting changes. So you have Harpoons pulling Kraken twice as hard. So this is a buff to Griffin. I haven't actually tested it, so I don't know how much it's going to affect Griffin, but I know that when you play Griffin, it's kind of like a coin flip where you might be useless against Kraken, or you might do really good against Goliath or Behemoth, and then you're kind of okay against Wraith if you can hit a couple Harpoons, but it's kind of hard because it's a little smaller hitbox. I'm kind of baffled that they did this. Maybe people were using it in tournaments or something, but they actually nerfed Aftershock, which is surprising to me. I used to use an Aftershock build, but I don't anymore. And then I think it's slightly... Ooh, that's really interesting. So these are actually pretty big nerfs to Banshee Mines. So invulnerability time was increased. This isn't that big of a deal. It makes it so that they activate, I think, a little bit slower, but then the level 1 only allows you to have 1 Banshee Mine fired at a time. It used to be 3. That's a huge change. That reduces your damage per second quite a bit. Level 1 cooldown. I'm guessing at level 3 that's going to be 3, though. It's going to be normal at level 3. So you might even want to level this up a little bit quicker. Maybe instead of going like 2 into Vortex, you go 2 into Banshee Mines or something. Yeah, so it's 1 extra per level, because you can see at level 2 you get 2 Banshee Mines, and then level 3 there's no change. The cooldown was reduced to 7 seconds, so it makes it so you can launch them more often, but only have 1 at a time. Interesting. And then level 3 cooldown time is actually increased, so you get less of them back than you would at level 1, but you can fire 3 at a time. This probably is just changes to keep it in line with each level, most likely. Lightning cast duration was reduced to 1.65 seconds instead of 2.1. That's going to make it harder to dodge this, so that's definitely a pretty big buff to Lightning Strike. Also makes it harder for you to aim it, but it's kind of hard to aim it anyway, so like it doesn't move a whole lot like it used to, so you kind of have to start it on someone and then just kind of move it towards them, and it hits them. So they'll have less time to actually dodge out of the way. Quite a bit less. That's a pretty big percentage of what it used to be. Decoy, we have Wraith's Decoy cooldown being increased. Again, just to stop cooldown dome running Wraiths, probably. They've been nerfing this since the Wraith came out, when the game came out, so not that big of a deal. I don't really use Decoy all that much. I take one level of it just to add a little bit of extra depth to my Wraith place. Like it unlocks you to be able to like eat during a dome and stuff like that, just to try it if you're in a bad spot, and maybe it saves you, maybe it doesn't, you know. I take one just because it unlocks a bunch of added abilities that you can use as Wraith. But I don't really use it as a combat ability, or like the linchpin of my Wraith play like some people do. I never take level 3 Decoy. Alright, so Behemoth got a little bit of nerfs, I believe. The knockback on roll is a bit more, so you're able to get out of it easier. So when someone rolls into you, you get knocked back further so that you'll have a little bit more time to recover and actually get out of the way of the next roll. His heavy melee damage was reduced by 50, quite a bit of a nerf. His light melee damage was reduced by 20, not as much, but he's going to be doing less sustained damage. And then remove the knockback on lava droplets. I thought they already did that, but maybe that's something that got added to consoles or something. And the pool duration was decreased 3 seconds. So overall, a lot of changes here. Things that I want to personally test is Griffin. I want to test him on Kraken. I want to test Flame Breath on Goliath. I don't really care about the Meteor Goliath changes because I think they're basically just keeping it in line with regular Goliath. I want to see how big of a deal the Lightning Strike changes because I think that could be a pretty big deal for Kraken. And also Banshee Mines if that reduces his damage by quite a bit. I think that's just about it. I think those are the big ones. Obviously Veil is a really big change. I just don't play a whole lot of Medic, but I would like to try out Veil. I play quite a bit of Jack, and I'll continue to play Jack. I don't think I'm going to notice this a ton, but it will be nice to have that angle increased by 45 more degrees. That's going to be helpful. And I think that's basically it. So a lot of these changes you won't really notice in-game, but there's quite a few that I just listed that are going to be pretty big deals. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.